Does the NSA collect any type of data at all on millions or hundreds of millions of Americans?
No, sir.
It does not.
Not wittingly. There are cases where they could inadvertently, perhaps, collect, but not wittingly.
The National Security Agency of the United States, or the NSA, has recently come under fire for scandals regarding monitoring of Americans' emails, phone calls, internet usage, and other sources of communication. Not only does the government have access to the information regarding Americans' communication means, but also those in other countries, including leaders of our allies.
Unacceptable. That's how German Chancellor Angela Merkel described the alleged bugging of her mobile phone by the U.S. It's not just about me, but about every German citizen. We need to have trust in our allies and partners, and this trust must now be established once again.
At this point, the NSA can track phone numbers, serial numbers of cell phones, locations, call time, and duration of the calls. The NSA states it cannot access the content of these calls, but through classified documents disclosed by whistleblowers of the intelligence agencies, such as Edward Snowden, the information seems to prove otherwise.
I saw an interview in which Mr. Snowden claimed that due to his position at NSA, he could tap into virtually any American's phone calls or emails. True or false?
False. I know of no way to do that.
Thank you.
In recent news, The Washington Post and The Guardian leaked a government program called PRISM, a surveillance technology to collect data from Facebook, Gmail, Outlook, and more. Companies that are involved in the PRISM software have been extremely hesitant to comment to the media. The NSA has been defensive and uncooperative with the media regarding recent issues, and this has raised some red flags among Americans and their allies.
Firing diagrams. Mark Klein would later tell The Washington Post, this splitter was sweeping up everything, vacuum cleaner style. NSA is getting everything. These are major pipes that carry not just AT&T's customers, but everybody's. He told the Post, that was my aha moment. They're sending the entire internet to the secret room.
So it's very, very dangerous. I don't think there's anything left to our Fourth Amendment.
You can't just seize everything and say you're doing so to try to root out terrorism.
I think that you could probably justify each component of all of this surveillance on its own, maybe constitutionally, maybe statutorily, maybe justify it as far as an intrusion into privacy. But when you put this whole picture together, it's more than creepy. It's beyond the imagination of George Orwell.
Yeah.
The scandals involving the NSA all stem back to their justification of the monitoring to prevent future terrorist attacks. On September 11, 2001, al-Qaeda terrorists carried out a horrific attack on American soil. Americans were shocked and in a fragile state, vulnerable enough to be willing to let the government infringe on their rights to privacy, if that meant preventing another devastating attack. Soon after the 9/11 attacks came the Patriot Act under the Bush administration, which has many components, but one of the prevalent features was the increased ability of the government to monitor communication among citizens and an expansion of wiretapping and surveillance specifically relating to terrorism and terrorist activities. But the screening of phone calls and communication is nothing new. Ever since 1919, the government has been screening communication in some way. That was the year the Black Chamber was founded, a highly secret group trained to solve the cryptic codes other governments sent through telegram. Working with the government, the Black Chamber persuaded Western Union, the leading communication company at the time, to grant them access to the information on telegrams they sent and received. This group was later shut down, but is seen as the origins of the NSA. Throughout American history, there have been government groups that monitor communication but take on different names, and they usually arise at times of war. In World War II, the Signal Security Agency was created to decipher cryptic messages of the Axis powers. The surveillance continued, and the NSA was eventually founded in 1952. Many Americans are hesitant towards this increased government power in the field of surveillance, but willing to give up some rights to privacy in the effort to prevent terrorism. Others aren't that worried about the increased surveillance because they believe they have nothing to hide and are not involved in any terrorist activity. Senator John McCain is an avid supporter of this camp, stating he does not approve of the leaked classified information and the whistleblowers, but does not have any particular problems with the NSA surveillance. All of this revolves back to what rights Americans are granted by the Constitution. The Fourth Amendment is commonly cited when discussing the NSA surveillance scandal. The Fourth Amendment protects Americans from unjust search and seizures of property, requires a warrant to be searched, and all the searches must be supported by probable cause. But because technology surveillance is a relatively new phenomenon, the government is writing the rules as they go, and the American people are divided on the issue. The secretive nature of the NSA's actions and the statements make Americans uneasy, and the question remains whether what the NSA is doing is constitutional or not.